Hello, everybody. I am Peter Denoy. Everything working okay, but can you hear me? You can't hear me. Just hang on. Hello, can you hear me now? Good. Okay. And there's Vicky too. Very good. Okay.
There we go. And John and Riley?
Yep, y'all coming in loud and clear.
There's Riley. Are we missing? John, how are you? I'm going to unmute you, John.
Quick question, Vicky. Vicky, quick question about a recording. I set it up so it automatically records.
Okay.
If you don't want that, I will, just let me know afterwards whether you want me to process it or what, because I will get notification that it was recorded. If you actually want the recording or not.
Sure. Why not? In case we forget.
Sure what?
Okay, thank you.
You forget. Yeah, it's easy on the secretary. You don't have to keep minutes, right? But we find it works very well for our board meetings because the secretary can, go back to certain things too. So
Right.
once it's done, I will send you the link. I'll put it on our YouTube channel, and then it would be available for those that want to. So.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, Peter is the president of our Rotary E-Club, and he's helped me set up the Zoom so that we didn't have problems. So thank you, Peter.
And in the future,
the muted button is on. Can you hear Riley?
Yep, I'm here. Is everybody hear me okay?
Okay. I'm out of here. I got another meeting. Bye.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so everyone is unmuted so we can all hear each other. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being available in all our various locations. John's up the earliest. I was up the latest. Well, no, I was up earlier. So. And everybody received the agenda and the financial report?
Yes.
Oh, Sue, are you? Sue, unmute yourself. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're unmuted. I don't know why we can't hear you. You need to turn your volume up. You're the only one I can't hear. But it says on your screen that you're unmuted, so there's something from your end.
Can you hear the phone?
Yes. Now we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. 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 So last night, as I was printing out all the docs, I realized I had sent the wrong budget, the report with the budget. So last night I resent all 3 financial reports. So I hope you saw that. I have too many things with the same similar title, and I got to go back and clean that up.
Okay, I know how that happens. What happened to the agenda here?
So I believe it's the first one.
Well, are we going to start with number one, approval of the minutes from June 20th?
Sure. Yes. Want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay, so,
Actually, I
Anyway,
don't know if those got sent out. Ooh, not bad.
what?
I'm just realizing that maybe people didn't get them and I was supposed to put them on the,
No, because I sent them individually. I mean,
Okay, perfect. Okay.
anyways, let's approve the minutes. If there are no changes to or corrections to the minutes, I'd like a motion to approve as submitted.
Approved.
Who said that?
I did.
John.
Yeah, say your name because if we don't see people's faces.
And
Approved.
and a second?
I second.
Andrea, okay, all in favor? Unless there's a dissent, let's just call it a unanimous approval. I don't hear a dissent, okay. Okay, financial reports. The first one is the statement of activity for June and July. I've looked at it. I think it's pretty straightforward. The year, because this is the beginning of our year, and as I recall, Vicki, most of the funding for the sponsors, the kids come later in the year.
Yeah,
So, which is reflected on here. So for the first 2 months, we are operating at a negative balance, or a negative of $725.95. But that is normal. The only other thing I'd like to point out is that, at least for me, at the very end of this report, this is a typical accounting thing, the differences in exchange rates are shown below. And I didn't have time to put this, change that to put income from extra income that's made from exchange rate and the same income that's lost from exchange rates under income and expense, which I think is easier for non-accountants to figure out, but it's how it came right off the press. Any
right.
questions?
I just want to explain why Sue didn't have time to do that. We've got a new accountant, and my job is to send him all the bank statements and clarify what each of the transactions are, and then he puts them in QuickBooks. And so doing the month of July and August was only the second time he'd done this. And when we talked about hiring him, we talked about this work being done at the beginning of the month. And when I came back from Costa Rica, he said, "Oh, I'm on the 15th." He said, "I'm going to do it today." And so I explained how that messes us up, because we needed to have this done so that I could send Sue the reports so that she would have time to review them before our meeting. And so he apologized profusely, but that's why she didn't have time to go through them with fine-tooth comb.
Okay, and then let's go, any questions about the statement of activity for the current 2 months?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so then let's just look at the statement of financial position. I think it's also pretty straightforward. We've got all those bank accounts. I think the one thing I want to point out, cash on hand in Guatemala, it's a negative $1,500, and that's a temporary situation. Vicki, do you want to explain that? Because you know it better than I.
Yes. I decided to do a house sit in Costa Rica kind of on short notice, and William decided to go with me. And so Rosa and I were trying to get all the financial stuff done and make sure that she had checks to get petty cash, and she thought she had everything under control, but William was out of the office and he came in with a handful of receipts that he needed to be reimbursed for. And so I just loaned Rosa 2,000 Q of my own money to have that as a slush fund. So that's why when they counted the cash while we were away, there's that negative amount, but it's been since rectified.
So the only other thing that I saw was under liabilities, and we have accounts payable and in a negative $314.96, and then we have accounts payable Canadian in a positive amount. They wash each other out. I assume that has to do with a credit card. And
actually, that's been around for several years, and I went through it with Becky, and I went through it with the other volunteer accountant in December, and neither of them can figure out how to get rid of it. And they said, you know, because they wash each other out, just don't worry about it. They're just going to be there as an annoyance, but they couldn't figure out how to fix that. So.
Okay. So with that being said, the net revenue is the minus $725.95, which it matches what is shown on the statement of activities. So if there are any other questions, I would call for a motion to accept both these financial reports.
I move to accept.
Okay. Second?
Second that.
Okay. All in favor? Unless I hear any opposed, it's approved. Okay. Okay. Now, for the budget. Has everyone found it?
Yes.
Oh, I see Scratch.
Where?
He's helping William.
I miss my kitty.
Okay, so the budget is based on the actual expenditures from last year, with some minor adjustments for things we talked about at our last meeting, like hiring the 3 employees full time. So that includes that added expense. It includes an estimate for accepting 5 more high school or junior high students. So in general, like I said, with some minor adjustments, increases for normal increases in activities, supplies, all that kind of stuff. It's really a break-even budget that comes out to showing a $59 net revenue. So, and this is the format I like to present financial reports in, with footnotes, and I will do that in the future for current activity reports, but like Vicki explained, I didn't have time. So, are there any questions to this budget?
No, I like the way that you've tightened it up and everything is clear, and there aren't these little sort of tag things hanging around that didn't make sense.
Yes, it's very, very simply done, and it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And in the future, excuse me, but I'm still learning the change, and I call it a P&L statement. So changes to the statement of activity, I will try to include the last year's same period, so you have a comparison as well. And then, of course, with the budget.
Great.
So any other questions to this budget? If not, I would like to call for a motion to approve it as submitted.
Approved, John.
Second.
Was that Riley?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Unless there's opposition, we will call it approved.
Sounds good.
Okay. Are you talking to the next point?
Andrea's going to talk to it.
Okay.
Okay, the last meeting, Vicki presented a one-year plan as well as a sort of a bare bones, what we called a strategic plan, but really perhaps a better word for it would have been just a bare bones plan for 5 years. And the feedback that we got from the board at the last meeting was that we needed to flesh that plan out, make it more comprehensive and so forth. So I've been taking a look at nonprofit strategic plan templates, how other nonprofits create their strategic, long-range strategic plans and what they include in it. And so that's something that I'm in the process of drafting up, a more comprehensive, and I'm going to our original nonprofit documents like our constitution and so forth to draw information out of that, for example, our vision and mission statement and so forth, and just sort of using that information that we've already created to make it a part of our long-range strategic plan. So this plan is going to be something that all of us have input in, of course, and it's something that's in process, and we're going to get feedback. I'll draft something up for the next meeting. We'll get feedback from everybody. And then depending on each person on our board's personal strengths, for example, Sue and John have the financial strengths, then at that point we will invite integration of the financial part, of the numbers parts into it from those people. So it's an ongoing process, and some of the very quickly, some of the topics that are commonly included in long-range nonprofit strategic plans include things like vision and mission statement, the values of the organization, goals, long-term and short-term goals of the organization, addressing human resource issues and staffing issues, a SWOT analysis, which means looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and potential threats or blockages to some of our goals, financial projections, risk analysis, the list goes on. And so, I mean, we're going to make, as I draft something up, I'm trying to be discerning about making it customized to our particular situation and our particular size of our organization and goals and so on and so forth. So that's where we're at with that. It's an ongoing process. Everybody's going to provide feedback. We're going to do it together, and each person's, depending on each person's strengths, that will be invited in to contribute to the document. So that's where we're at with that.
Good. Any comments?
Well, it sounds like a good place to start. And as soon as you have something, Andrea, and we can see it and start adding to it, then we will get it fine-tuned.
Right.
Okay, we skipped number 3.
Oh, we sure did. Okay, well, that's, I would like to present a proposal that we combine the 2 positions of secretary and treasurer on our board, because we've been without a treasurer for over a year. And I have approached a few other people to ask if they would consider putting their name forward, and they didn't feel like it was something they could take on at this time. And Sue has a really good grasp of the finances and the financial reports, and without her help over this last year, I would have been totally lost. And so I would like to make two proposals, that we combine those two positions into one on our board. And I would like to propose that Sue remains in the position of secretary and takes on treasurer.
Perfect.
Is that a second? Or is that a motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, I make the motion, and John, you just seconded it.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So congratulations, Sue. We're going to get the name tag.
Wow, you have 2 titles now, Sue.
I'm going to have to get an extra box of tea bags for this.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say an extra
promise
box
you
of donuts for the
supply
next
of tea
meeting.
bags for the rest of your life. That's what it is.
And thank you for taking this on, Sue.
You're welcome.
Yes, appreciate that very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Are we ready to move on to number 5?
Okay.
We talked at the last meeting about the amount of money that we would need to be able to hire Ahidia and Rosa full-time and register the 2 of them plus William into the National Health Care Program and the other things that our organization would be required to pay on their behalf. And so Andrea and I have been doing some fundraising, and I don't have the figures right with me now because some more money has come in. But Becky, when she was here, determined that we would need to have close to $8,000 more a year and US, and we've reached that goal. And so we're now in a position that that we will be able to pay them. So so that's really good news. And some people have talked about doing some of their own fundraising or finding other people to contribute to that so that we would even have a cushion. But these are people who have committed to making a yearly donation. So it's not just having found some funds for this year, but committed to this being their ongoing donation to support the staff salaries.
So when are we going to make these, inform the employees and start this?
Well, that's number 6.
Oh, okay.
So William, do you want to speak to that?
About what, sorry?
About when they found out that they were full-time?
Oh yeah, I had a meeting yesterday with them, and then they are very happy about that. Yeah, they are just questioning about the schedule, you know.
The what?
Schedule. How many hours they will work during the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
The law says that that full-time is 44 hours, and generally what happens is people work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 4 hours on Saturday. And so they were asking about that, but Ahidia has expressed that she wants to go back to university, and that would be a full day Saturday. And so William and I talked about the fact that she could spread her 44 hours over 5 days, which would also give the students a little more flexibility in having more hours to come and do their homework. But William pointed out that we need to clarify that with Claudia to see if we can do that, because the law says that they work 8 hours a day. But maybe we don't need to tell them. I don't know. But anyway, we need to clarify that point.
I would think, unless you have to submit a timesheet to SAT, who would know?
Well, exactly. And I think Ahidia would be much happier doing 9 hours, 5 days a week.
And I think it would benefit the students as well.
That's right, because if she started at 8 o'clock, then the high school students would have an extra hour to come and do their homework if they needed it and chose to do so. So it would be a benefit.
I have a question, just a curiosity. Those 40 hours include break time and lunch time, or does that exclude the 40 hours of work does that include like 30 minutes or 45 minutes or 1 hour of the lunchtime, or it doesn't?
It doesn't. It's 44, and it's 44 hours of work. But built into their day, they are we were required to give them breaks, but it's not. The break time is not included in those 44 hours.
Oh, it does not. Okay.
That's
Okay.
But because we are a wonderful organization and also recognize the value of our employees, we could easily give them break time on the clock, right?
We're
Right.
flexible about that, so. And they generally put in more time than they clock for also, just because that's who they are, but,
Cool, excellent.
okay. So,
Yeah.
um,
When does that start? Next month?
we have to talk to Claudia because we paid them last Friday on their hourly basis. And usually what happens is people get paid the 15th of the month and the 30th of the month, which is a bit of a problem because you see huge lineups at the banks because people's pay gets deposited into their account and then they go to the bank to withdraw money from the account. So I would like to not make our employees have to do that. So I would like to schedule their pay time staggered from that.
Right.
But
right.
I don't know if the law says, you know, if they're full-time, this is when they get paid. So we have to clarify that also.
Okay. But anyhow, they would start in September 1, or?
Well, I think September 1, but we'll figure out what to do with this little time. Well, actually, it might just work out right because last Friday was the 17th. So then we would pay them part-time, pay them hourly paid for the rest of August, and then it would start the 1st of September.
Cool, excellent.
Yeah, so exciting for us, and I'm really relieved because one of the things that always bothered me is that they had no health care. And if something happened to them, you know, we as an organization would have to pay to, you know, help them get well. But now that they'll be on the national health care, that is better and it's a relief for us. So I'm happy about that.
Cool. Great. You're up.
Okay, number 7, student updates. As we said in our one-year plan that we would have the room to take on 5 new high school students because there aren't as many students who come in the morning. So there's a girl who has passed her 3-month probation time, Ingrid, and so we already have 1 sponsor for her. She'll need 2 because she's going into junior high school, but she's a real dedicated and motivated student. We have another student on probation who's the cousin of Cecilia, who we took on in January, and she's been coming every day. Ingrid's brother is also coming to use the internet. He's in 2nd year junior high school, and so that's still questionable whether we take him on because we have to see what's going on there. Sadly, we have lost a student. We have 3 girls who are under youth protection and living with their aunt because they've been taken away from their mom. And the oldest one, we would have lost her this time anyway because she repeatedly has 4 or 5 red marks and she's not doing her work. But the aunt who has custody of them and the 3 girls had an appointment with the judge. And because Ingrid's notes were so bad and Ingrid told the judge that she didn't really like studying, the judge has pulled her out of the family and put her in a girls' home, which is not good news because in Guatemala, those places are not real nice, but Ingrid kind of made some choices and it's beyond our control. So, and we'll be losing Jose Carmona because he continually has red notes and he's not pulling his weight.
But he will finish the school year, right?
Yeah, he'll finish the school year with us and then after that be gone. And then Jennifer also has some red notes and William and I are bantering back and forth whether we're going to give her another chance because we've given these other kids many chances. And so, and they've got lots of family issues, an alcoholic father, and they had to move because the grandmother threw them out of her home and, you know, so.
Jennifer's Maribel's daughter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was at the community garden yesterday planting.
Oh. Well, we might take that into consideration.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And Some other news is Delmy, who is an amazing student. We have lots of students who are amazing students. We've had kids who have gotten 3 or 4 100s on their notes this last term. But we applied for Delmy to go to the Antigua International School, which is quite a hoity-toity school with a very good reputation, but very expensive. But they also have a program where they will take Indigenous kids who live in very poor situations and provide sponsorships for them up to 95% of their cost. So Delmy applied and they accepted her, and then a social worker came to visit her house, and now they need to see what they can do about providing financial support, because we can't afford to send her there unless they provide a lot of financial support, but that's still pending. But it would be a really good place for her because it's an amazing school. And they also, when their kids are nearing graduation, they work really hard at finding them scholarships to universities around the world. So she would have that advantage.
And the kids also get 2 diplomas, one a Guatemalan diploma and one a U.S. recognized diploma.
Awesome.
And we also have another student, Cindy, who would be just as qualified, I think, to go there.
Right. So we'll see what happens with Delmy, and then we'll proceed with Cindy. So, anyway, exciting if we can get our kids into a school like that. So, okay, so we move on to number 8.
Yep.
As I've probably mentioned to all of you before, in Guatemala, it's very uncommon that libraries lend out books because they're afraid the kids will lose them, tear them up, cut them up, use them for firewood, whatever. And, you know, as an organization, we don't agree with that, but there is also a concern about the care of our books. So AHIDIA has worked very hard at teaching the kids about the care of the book and respect books and, you know, the process of lending and returning. And so about 6 weeks ago, she made up library cards for each of the kids and started a pilot project with kids that she felt were the most responsible to be able to take books home. And it's been very successful. So we'll start doing it with more and more students as we go along, and find out what things we need to address, and then get the kids doing more reading at home.
Cool. I think that's great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And of course, you all know that my dream someday is to have a library that's open to the community and get books out into other people's hands, but slowly, poco a poco, as they say. Okay. Can I go on to number 9?
Yes, ma'am.
The building lease is at a standstill. As common in Guatemala, things take a lot of time. But William and I met with the owner of the house in June and talked about a lease, which he's quite keen on, and he's quite willing to have a 5-year lease. He was not willing to give us the information that our lawyer needed, which is particulars about the land registration, because one of the things we asked her to do was investigate to make sure that there were no liens or loans against the building, because we didn't want to sign a 5-year lease and start investing money into repairs or expansion of the building and then find out that somebody had a lien on their house and had the right to take the house away from them, and then we're without a house. So anyway, he gave us his lawyer's contact information, which I gave to our lawyer, but his lawyer has not responded to any of her emails. So when I get back from Montreal, I'm going to go and pay the lawyer a visit and try and get things moving.
Okay.
Unfortunately, not much support. Number 10 is tied into that. The fellow and his daughter who provided all the funding to pay for our, I forgot something in hiring staff. We have to go back to number 6 when I'm finished.
Okay.
I'll do it under other business. Gary, the fellow from Florida, and his daughter who provided all the funding for our English teacher have promised $22,000 for building upgrades, renovations, expansions. And we haven't done anything about it because we had been talking before about maybe buying our own land and building a building. But now that that's dead, when he came to visit in June, he said, you know, almost every business, McDonald's, etc., build a building on leased land. And he said, you know, as long as you have a lease that is for long-term with the option of renewing for an extended period of time, there's no reason why you can't put money into a building that you're renting in order to upgrade it to your standards. And so he has promised us $22,000 to do whatever we need to do with this building once we get an established lease. So we're talking about how we can expand our building, build a room up above the computer room and do some other things, but we have to get the lease in order first. But anyway, just so you know, that money's sitting there waiting for us.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Okay, we need to go back to number 6 because I omitted to say something. We have an English teacher on staff who has kind of come and gone. She's coming back in September for 6 weeks, but her time with us will end the middle of October. And so while she was away for these last 2 months, I've hired another English teacher full-time. So he was on a probationary contract for the months of July and August. And last week before I left, I've hired him for a year's contract for our English teacher full-time. He's a fellow from California. He's 60 years old, retired. He trained as a teacher. And then before he came back to Guatemala, he trained as a English as a second language teacher. And he's really excited about working for us. And other volunteers who've been with us have, without being solicited, had commented on, you know, how great he's doing with the kids and how the kids' English has improved. And he's got wonderful ideas for improving their conversational English. So I'm really excited because he's there 5 days a week from 9 to 5, and he's got all the age groups and he's doing a wonderful job. So we now have somebody for a year.
And I have to say he is great. I think I'm so happy he has been given the position full time.
I'm glad to hear that, because me too. I was watching him, but it was just interesting getting unsolicited comments from other people that, oh, wow, this is, you know, he's really doing a great job, and noticing that the kids' English had improved. And he did a really neat initiative. He took the junior high kids to Antigua one day, and they'd all made these billboard things that they hung on their front and their back saying, I'm learning English, would you be willing to have a conversation with me? And so he and I went with the kids to sort of supervise them. And they just walked up to strangers and they'd have 15-minute conversations with these people and laughing. And it was just so amazing to see our kids being excited about doing that and just stepping right in there. And just even from that one experience, I could tell that their English had improved. And so it was really cool to see that. So I'm really happy to have him on board.
Is he satisfied with his pay? And how much he's getting paid?
Well, this 2-month probation period, I had asked him how much he would need, because he told me that he wanted to find some paid work, even though he's retired. You know, he wanted to have some income to, you know, so he didn't have to keep depleting his retirement fund. And so I asked him, how much would you need? And he said 500. So for those 2 months of probation period, I hired him at 200. But we have budgeted 700, and he met all of my expectations, so he's getting the full 700 a month now. And he's happy with that, and I'm happy with him. So that's good news for us, because, you know, we've been looking for a long time, and so now we have somebody who wants to make a permanent home in Guatemala, so that really helps us.
Yeah.
So we're at any other business?
I have one question in review. The short and long-term goals. One of the items that was on there that I think is very important is liability insurance. Have we
Thank you
looked
for bringing
into
that
that?
Thank you. I should have put that on here. I have gone round and round and round trying to find liability insurance and have not gotten satisfactory information or answers. I worked with one fellow and, you know, after him not giving me the answers that I needed, I went to somebody else, the fellow who we buy our car insurance through. And he kept forgetting to respond. And then I'd see him at a Rotary meeting. He said, oh yeah, I'd write to him. So anyway, he didn't write back. So I wrote to him again. And what I found out from the first fellow is you can buy fire and theft insurance, but we don't really need fire insurance because our building is cement and we have shelves and stuff made out of wood, but not much else. And the theft is if you get robbed, you only get 25% of the value of the items that were stolen. And so I didn't think that was really worth buying insurance for. But anyway, this last fellow, when I finally got a response from him, he said, you can't buy liability insurance on its own. It's tied in with the fire and theft. So then I wrote back and I said, okay, can we start with that? And haven't heard back from him. So I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. But I will continue to pursue it because I think it's a very important thing. You know, if somebody falls down the stairs or, you know, has an accident, we're responsible. And so I will continue to pursue that.
Well, you know, just for your information, many times in third country, liability insurance isn't as important to them as we perceive it. So, because a lot of time it can be compromised without insurance, and that's how the second, third country works. Just for information. And as regards to other business and so on, I used to have art gallery. I used to have a couple of art galleries, and one artist that who were a good friend of mine basically donated in retail value of like $30,000 worth of his artwork to me for the organization. So I have this artwork in my possession, except I don't know what to do with it because I also have about $300,000 worth of my own artwork that is stored in a storage because of the art market and because of the situation that I'm in. I downsized twice, so I don't have much worse to hang my artwork. However, I do have about $30,000 worth of retail value of a guy named by Riccardo Flamante. He's an Italian artist, and unframed and framed artwork. So just I have to let you know because he donated for the purpose of having the fund for our organization, which is creating opportunity for Guatemala.
Wow.
Yeah, so he knows that I'm involved with it, and he wanted to some way contribute. He's very well off now, but he used to be one of the top 3 local artists in state of Washington.
Mm.
So I will send the link to his website. And if you know anyone who would be interested in his artwork, which is beautiful artwork, he does oil and acrylic on a panel and canvas. So if you have any friend who may be interested in it, please let me know because I do have artwork sitting in the container. And the second thing that I want to update you is that I had a lot of personal stuff happen in past few months, and I'm trying to get situated. I should say in several months. I lost one of my best friends to cancer, and meantime I was interacting with friends in South Korea. I met a fellow who set up about 5 schools. I mean, I'm talking about big schools. And that's what he does, but that's what he did. And I also mentioned about our organization, and he's very interested. He's involved with the M&A of a company right now. So after that's done, he would love to come down and check it out. But he has this way of getting a sponsorship from a big corporate. And under his belt, there were 5 schools in average, student population was around 400. But it has to be Christian-based type of organization. But this is something that we can discuss later on. I just want to throw it out there that so that if something comes up in the future, I just want you guys to have a heads up.
Okay, wonderful. So you'll keep discussions with him and let us know how things progress, or if you come up with ideas or plans, or?
Yes. Well, I mean, I'll probably talk to you in more detail when I see you next year in January or in Guatemala. I could give you some more input personally, but if something comes up in between, I'll let you know. I'll let you all know.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for starting those dialogues. John, do you have dates yet as to when you're planning to come in January?
Yes, I mean, I usually go there in middle of January and stay there for a couple of weeks to a month. But this year, I would like to be there for a couple of weeks because instead of just being in Guatemala, then I would like to travel Belize and Costa Rica for a week. So I would like to go there middle of January until end of January, and a second half of February. I would probably like to go to Belize and Costa Rica and heading back. So this year, I am very flexible. But I'm thinking I'm going to be in Guatemala from, let's say, January 15th until January 31st.
And Andrea, how about you? Have you got dates?
I'm booked to come down January 18 for 5 weeks.
Oh, wow. 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Well, then I could do 1 week, 2 weeks elsewhere, and I could stay from February 1st until February 15th. So
Okay.
Just to coordinate the date with you.
Okay. For me, that would be preferable, John, because I've got a Rotary group that's coming January 23rd to the 30th, and I kind of have to be involved with activity with them. And also, the beginning of January is a busy time for us getting kids back to school. And so if you were there the first 2 weeks in February, it would first of all be more relaxed, and we could spend more time together, but then that would also be a good time to have a board meeting, because we have August, September, October, November. We'll book one for November, and then if we can do the next one in February when so many of us are together, that would be nice.
Absolutely, I would love to do that, and we're talking personally about coordinating our get together this time, because I would love to spend some time with you. However, me being in Guatemala near the institution, emotionally, I feel like I'm obligated to be at the organization when I'm there. But however, when I'm there, what am I doing to the organization? So
you're helping the director stay happy and calm. That's what you're doing.
So I would love to have a mingle with you and hang out with you guys. But other than that, me being in the organization, really practical issue, it doesn't really help. But I would like to be there to just knowing that I'm there. But other than that, in real sense, me being there, I found out that it doesn't do anything. Me being in a organization is more of a nuisance than being helped, right?
Well, don't ever think that. Last January was a bit crazy, so.
Yeah. So well, but I will schedule it to be in Antigua area from, let's say, February 1st until the 15th, so we can meet and hang out together.
All right. So we're working on planning the next 2 board meeting dates. Okay. So do we have a suggestion for the next meeting date? We said November. What if we set November 20th?
That worked for me.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I am scheduled to be in Eastern Europe during that time. But you know, if you let me know ahead so that I can coordinate the time, I'm sure that there will be internet access in that area. I hope, because
John, are you trying to add one more time zone to our board meetings?
because I know I'm planning to go to Poland, but I know in certain area in Poland, internet access can be spotty. So if you know, if you give me exact date, I can coordinate so that I can be there at that time.
Do you know what your travel? Do you know what your travel dates are?
Yes, it's going to be it's a whole month of November in Eastern Bloc, from November 2nd until the November 30th.
Well, there's no reason why we can't schedule a board meeting either for the 30th of October or the 2nd of December. Anybody have comments about that?
I will be out of the country leaving October 24th, I think, or 23rd. So if we did it in October, that would be great. Like the October 21, whatever day, I don't know what day that is, but.
Sorry, when are you going to be gone, Sue?
I can't remember exactly. I think I have my flight to Florida is October 21, and then Ani and I are leaving on the 23rd for Bangkok and Southeast Asia.
So it'd probably be better to do it before you leave on the 21st. Yeah. Okay, why don't we make it October 16th? You know, we say in our Constitution that we have 4 board meetings a year every 3 months, but you know, it doesn't have to be, and in the past we haven't always had it. So how does that sound to everybody? October 16th?
I mean, do we prefer to move it up over a month or just move it ahead 10 or 12 days? Because I would be fine early December. I know I won't be traveling at that time. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the room. It seems like a dramatic shift in one direction when we could just move it a little bit further ahead to early December.
Okay, I was just thinking about the next one in February, but that doesn't matter if we have one that's 2 months apart, because we did that last year just to take advantage of people in Guatemala.
Yeah.
So that's fine with me. So you guys make the decision. When do you get back, Sue?
I'm not sure. Depends on how much I'm enjoying it and how much I will be missing my furry children. But I'm thinking 2 months.
So if we looked at December 11th, do you think that's reasonable?
I don't know, but I'm sure in all of where I'll be, they probably have internet, good internet. It's just I'll have to figure out the time zone thing.
What's that, John?
Thailand? No, I should say that they may have a good internet access, but Thailand can be very spotty. Depends where you're going to be.
She doesn't know where she's going to be.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to suggest December 4th because you'll be back by then, John.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, let's put it at December 4th.
Okay.
And we'll send out an APB for Sue to try and find out where she is.
Okay.
And depending on where you are, we can be a little flexible about the time too, so that John doesn't have to get up at the crack of dawn, although I think he does anyway.
Or I can just make sure I have all the financials prepared and somebody else can keep notes if I'm not available, right?
No, Sue, we need you.
That's right. Okay, so let's set it again for 9 a.m. Guatemalan time, and then we will adjust as necessary. Okay,
good.
December 4th?
Yes, that works for me.
Yep.
Yeah, good. So shall we ask for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, it was wonderful to see all your smiling faces again today.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful trip if we don't talk again, John.
Well, I'll call you. I have a few things to talk to you about, so we'll coordinate so that we'll talk.
Okay, perfect.
Bye-bye.
And Riley, we'll talk later to set up our dinner date tomorrow night.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I like that. Yes, ma'am. Bye, William. Thank you for taking care of the babies while I'm not there.
Okay.
All right.
William looks like he's doing fine.
I know he sent me a message. I'm trying to survive with the puppy.
Ah,
I hope that meant he's not trying to survive the puppy, but they were trying to survive without me.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.